Hello and welcome back to the Rules Guru. Kez, can you let us know what we're doing today?
Today we're going to be looking at overheads, particularly the rule associated with when the ball goes up versus when the ball comes down.
So Kara, what are the two main things we have to consider when throwing an overhead?
We need to ensure that when the ball goes up, it is a safe area, as well as when it lands, that there's also a safe space there as well.
So Carol, let's start with a stationary ball or a free hit. What's the ruling here?
Well, in this situation, the defenders will already need to be 5 metres from the ball, therefore it is safe for the attacker to throw the overhead.
So Carol, what happens if the player chooses to self-pass the ball before throwing the overhead?
Well, essentially, it's not a very smart thing to do due to the fact that the attacker can approach within the 5 metres and therefore it is not safe for the ball to be lifted. In this situation, we would award a free hit.
So in this situation, we have the ball in play. What happens if the player decides to throw an overhead?
Well, the player needs to ensure that the person from the opposite team is at a safe distance. If the attacker decides, or if the yellow player decides to throw the ball before the red markers, we will deem this as safe as the defending player is 5 metre distance away.
Okay.
If she chooses to throw it in front of the red markers, this is now approaching within the 5 metre distance and would deem this as dangerous and give a free hit to the defending team.
So Carol, are there any exceptions to this rule?
In this situation, as the red player is directly in line with the ball, we would establish the 5 metre distance here. However, if the red player chooses to approach from in this direction, the red player is now no longer within the line of the ball. Therefore, danger is not an issue in this situation. So due to the angle that this red player is coming from, even though she is within the 5 metres, she's not in any danger due to the ball travelling in a different direction. Now we have established the rule for when the ball goes up. Run me through the scenarios of when the ball comes down.
So we're going to go over 4 different scenarios of when the ball's going to land.
So Tara, run me through scenario number 1.
In this scenario, the ball is landing where 2 players are together. It's up to the umpire to call this decision early, and it is a free hit awarded to the opposing team.
So the penalty is actually against the person who lifted the ball.
Yes, that's correct, Carol. The person who lifts the ball actually has to make it land in a space that isn't congested. So this is why we call it against that player.
So Tara, where and when would you award this penalty?
So the umpire needs to make this call while the ball is in flight to prevent any danger occurring where it would have landed. The free hit, however, is taken where it would have landed. The free hit, however, is taken where it would have landed.
So Tara, run me through scenario number 2.
So in scenario number 2, we have the player receiving the ball who is of the same team as the player who has thrown the overhead. This player can receive the ball safely as all the defenders are outside the 5 metres. The defenders of the other team have to wait until the ball is controlled before they can engage.
Okay Tara, so you've explained that the defender must be outside of the 5 metre distance until she's controlled the ball. What do you mean?
Well, the controlling of the ball means that the player has had a chance to receive the ball and they have that ball under control enough to be able to move forward.
So Tara, what's scenario number 3?
Scenario number 3, we have the ball landing in a vacant space. We deem this based on danger. In this scenario, there was no danger once the ball had entered the second phase, so it's play on.
So Tara, what you're saying is if the ball comes down and it lands in a safe space with no players and not creating any danger, it's play on.
That's exactly right.
So in scenario number 3, we have the ball landing within space. What happens if the attacker and defender both run in and approach at the same time?
In this instance, the ball is awarded immediately to the defending team. Again, this situation, the umpire needs to call the ball early to ensure that everybody is safe. So when the ball is in motion, even though the ball was going to land in space, with both players running in, the free hit is awarded to the defence.
So although the player throwing the overhead has created a safe space for it to land, the 2 players running in have created the danger. In this situation, we would give a free hit to the defender.
Yes, where the ball landed. Yes, where the ball landed.
So Tara, run me through this next situation.
So what we have here is the ball landing into space. Now previously we had the attacker and the defender together, but in this scenario we have the attacker in her own space and the defender is quite loosely marking. Now as the ball comes into land, the attacker comes in to receive the ball. Now as she's receiving the ball, the defender has run in before she has had a chance to control it, and therefore it's actually a free hit to the attacking team.
I get that situation due to the red player has not given the yellow player enough time to control the ball. So what happens if the red player approaches within the 5 metre distance while the ball is within the air?
So what happens there is the yellow player has actually owned that space, so she gets the free hit. So in this instance, it's different to previously where the defender gets the free hit. Because the attacker had that space, it's a free hit to them.
So in this situation, the yellow team would receive the free hit.
That's right. The free hit would be awarded here where the ball was going to land. That's right. The free hit will be awarded here where the ball was going to land. In this situation, if the red team had have stayed out until the ball was controlled, we could have played on.
So in our fourth and final scenario, the player has thrown an overhead to the yellow team who is in space. Unfortunately, the ball has gone a little bit offline and landed to the defender who is in space.
Although the ball was intended for the yellow, it's all about where the ball lands. In this situation, the red team has received the ball. If the yellow team stays outside the 5, we can play on. Unfortunately, if they encroach within that space, it is a free hit to the red team.
So Tara, have we covered everything with overheads and the landing space?
Almost everything. The last thing we want to cover is about how you can control the ball down. Previously, you were not allowed to raise the stick above your shoulder, but now you can actually trap the ball in any way as long as it's in a safe space. So in summary, Carol, we have 2 parts to the overhead. We have the lift.
Yes, so the lift needs to be made safely with the defender outside of the 5 metre radius. Again, they can be standing to the side, which isn't in line to where the ball is going, even if they are less than 5 metres away.
And so for the landing, even though we gave you 4 scenarios, we can break this down into 3 components. The first one being, if the ball is landing in space, we can play on if it is done safely. Secondly, if 2 players are in the same space, it automatically goes to the defence. And the third part is, whoever has the space, other players need to either stay out, but if they engage, the person who had the space to begin with is awarded the free hit.
So Tara, it is a complicated rule.
It is a very complicated rule, Carol, but if we break it down and if you do get a good understanding of this, it can make the flow of the game so much better. That's all from us this week.
See you next.